So, welcome to Lunchtime with a Librarian. My name is Mary Bear Shannon. I'm a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library. And I'm really excited to be here today with John Lowe. He is a library assistant at the Haverford Township Free Library. John has been on staff for about 3 months, I think close to 3 months. And we wanted to get to know some of our newer faces at the library. John joined a class of 5 new library assistants that started about right before December. And we wanted to get to know who they are, since many of you see John's, at least the top of John's face, at the front door while we're doing curbside pickup. So welcome, John. Thank you so much for being willing to be with us today.
No problem.
And
thanks for bringing me on.
Glad to have you here. So I just wanted to start out and have you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, that is always the hardest question. I guess you'll learn more about my book and reading habits with other questions. So I can just be real brief and say, I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. I lived in Virginia for many years doing high school and college. After my family moved there, I graduated from UVA, studied history, linguistics, and philosophy there. And I've been living in Philadelphia for the past few years. And very recently, I started working on my library science degree at Clarion.
Okay, awesome. And what is it that you like most about working in a library?
It's hard to choose one thing, so I'm going to say 2 things. I love being around all the books. That is probably what originally got me interested in working in libraries. But very quickly, I found that, it's great to learn all the different kind of books that are out there and get, be hands-on with helping people find their next favorite book. But also I really enjoy the sort of community service aspect of it. The helping people part became honestly an even bigger part of what I enjoy about working in libraries. Very quickly, helping people, anything from helping them find a book that they read years or decades ago and they want to track down, or helping someone use the computer to print, to apply for benefits, find a place to live. It's just really great to feel like I'm helping people in the community.
Great. And what did you do before you came to HTFL?
So before I came to Haverford, I had been working at the Westchester Library in Chester County for about a year. But prior to that, I have a long history of many menial labor jobs, did a lot of food service work. I was paid to dig ditches for a while. I've been a janitor. But, I think I found something I really enjoy.
Right?
Yeah.
I really building work.
Yeah.
And is it, you're still working part-time at the Westchester Library too, while you're with us? Okay. So you get all libraries all the time.
Yep.
Nice. And at Westchester, are you doing similar work? Are you doing other library tasks at Westchester?
Similar work, although I would say I probably have more diverse responsibilities at Westchester just because we're smaller and there's less of us. So we don't have a dedicated interlibrary loan person or a reference person. It's just a couple staff librarians who do most of the technical services work and ordering books and stuff. But then the rest of the work just is divided amongst all the other library assistants. So I do a little bit of everything over there.
Okay. All right. And we kind of asked this, but anything else that drew you to libraries, maybe before you decided to go into library science?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time just hanging out in libraries in my childhood. So it was, for many reasons, I still liked, browsing the books and stuff, but a lot of the times it was just a place to be, if you hang out in the lobby of a hotel or a restaurant without staying at the hotel or ordering something, they'll kick you out eventually, but you can just kind of hang out in the library and spend time there, which meant that I was there pretty often growing up. So that, I didn't really consider going into working in libraries as a career for many years after that, but I think that was kind of the foundation.
Okay, yeah. Do you know the name of your home library that you grew up in, or one of the names?
Um, I was near the Knapp Library in Detroit, which is a really nice library. And then in Virginia, I was near the Reston Regional Library in the Fairfax County system.
I think that's a good question to ask if people actually remember their childhood library.
Yeah.
Mine was the Greater Wilmington Library, so that's where I got my first library card. So what are some of your favorite books?
That's another hard question. I would split that into two. Either my like enduring favorites of like all time, like the classics. I really like Crime and Punishment and The Double by Dostoevsky, The Metamorphosis by Kafka, Jane Eyre was one of my favorite books from high school. But then, you know, more recently, stuff that has been coming out that I've been, you know, very glad to be working in a library because I can see like the new books coming out a lot easier. I read Hysteria by Jessica Gross recently, which was amazing. It was something that just felt like super new and fresh, like something like it wasn't like a spin on something or anything. It was just very, very new and interesting and different. And she's like not that much older than me, I think, which is really cool that she put out something like that. And read The Exhibition of Persephone Q last year, and Convenience Store Woman are two of my other favorites that have come out recently.
Sort of over Crime and Punishment from AT English. It was I hate to say it was my least favorite, but I did like Jane Eyre. So do you have a favorite genre?
I would say whatever you would call the genre that Kafka writes in. I think that's kind of hard to define, but I like the fact that he takes very everyday, mundane situations and adds something kind of like strange and slightly disturbing to them, and gives you that sort of experience reading. I really don't know what kind of genre that would be, but that's, I think, a really common theme in a lot of like my favorite books, that they have like it's like a lot of realism with just like a couple things that feel deeply strange.
Okay. Has that twist.
Yeah.
So what were some of your favorite books growing up? I guess this is before your high school years.
Yeah, so that is very different from what my favorite books are now. I don't know when this change happened, but I like read a ton of science fiction growing up, like as a kid. The two that I can remember being my favorite are the Tripods series by John Christopher and Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card were some of my favorite books when I was like, I'd say late elementary school, early middle school.
And aside from reading, do you have some other hobbies?
Somebody pointed out to me recently that I do a lot of cooking and baking, and that could be considered a hobby. So I would say that probably. I cook and bake several times a week, like a lot of my own food. And occasionally I try to do my own writing. I haven't done that as much lately because, you know, of schools taking up a lot of my time. But that's something that I do I've done pretty consistently on and off for several years now.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to do much else other than go to school and work. That can be a real challenge. So
Yeah.
The idea of reading for pleasure and not, you know, for your next class.
Yeah, even that's hard to fit in. Yeah.
Could be a challenge. So not that we are doing much of this at the moment, but do you have a place that you like to travel or visit? And do you have a place that's kind of on your bucket list?
Yeah, I lived in Germany briefly when I was younger, and I loved it there. And I would love to go back someday. So that is one place. And then also on one of the times that I was flying back from Germany, we had a 2-hour layover in Iceland. And from what I saw out of like the airport windows, it looks very nice. And I've heard really great things. And one day I would love to spend more than 2 hours there and see more than just the airport.
Absolutely. Interesting geology.
Yeah.
Very interesting geology. Okay. So here's our question we've been asking everyone. If you could live in any book universe, what would it be and why?
So this is the question that I feel is very geared towards people who read a lot of fantasy, which I don't. But I did recently pick up a fantasy book off like the new release shelf and read it because it seemed interesting. It had the word library in the title, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith, I think. And it was just very engaging about like the supernatural library and the librarians there. Their job is to maintain collections of books that haven't been written. So like ideas that authors have had to write books that they never got around to for some reason, they end up in this library as books that can like come to life if they get too bored, and you have to like catch them and keep them in the shelves. And that, that's, I think, a pretty good answer for as good as any for a fictional book universe to live in.
It could be kind of dangerous too.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you reading now?
So I try usually to keep one fiction and like one nonfiction book for like pleasure reading going. And I've been really into like shorter books lately because it's much less commitment. I can, just get it done with and not have to worry about like, oh, this huge novel I put down 2 weeks ago. Where was I? So right now I am reading The Hole by Hiroko Oyamada. I read her other book, The Factory, like a couple weeks ago, and it was really great. Felt a lot like a modern spin on Kafka. So that really pulled me in. And this one is even stranger. And it's like 90 pages. So I'm definitely going to finish this today. And then also right now, I'm reading this book, Anthropocene or Capitalocene, about ecology and the climate and the environment, that a friend of mine contributed an essay to. So I bought it online direct from the publisher to make sure he got as much royalties as possible, whatever that is. And I'm excited to get to his section that he wrote.
Great. It's always exciting to see somebody in print.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a librarian?
I would say to do a lot of research, whether that looks like reading or like actually just talking to people, to find out like all the different kinds of librarian there are, because there's like a lot of different things you can do if you decide to go into this field. So you might find something that like fits you like perfectly, and definitely like sit back and plan for like how you want to get there. That's my my advice. I'm definitely prone to thinking things through for a very long time, very thoroughly, and trying to make like a solid plan. So that would be my advice.
And what is it that you like about serving the patrons in our community?
So I started last November, which was, well into the whole COVID thing that's been going on. And I have really appreciated that like the vast majority of people are like super happy that we're, providing the level of services we are. I'm very happy about the number of things we've been able to provide, even though we're closed for browsing right now, like the printing services, I think is really great that we're doing. And I'm really happy about, how much support we are getting from the community and how positively a lot of people are giving their feedback and like receiving those services.
Okay. Well, those are my questions. I hope that you all know John a little bit better. I certainly do. So thank you so much, John, for joining us for Lunchtime with the Librarian. We do this program every fourth Friday of the month, and we do have some other new staff people to interview. So stay tuned for more. So again, thank you, John. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.